What I've been interested in my art and in, I guess you say, in my life really, I'm really interested in how people connect to the environment around them, what their relationship is, because that relationship to your environment, it's sort of cultural and philosophical and incredibly personal, right? So it's experiential and personal as well. So for me, one of the things that I'm attracted to with this way of working and with these forms, it's really that relationship to the environment and to the idea that that everything's kind of breathing, you know? Everything's breathing in its own way, everything's moving, and there's kind of like little microcosms of life in there. And you can see it moving and breathing, but you kind of have to stay quite still to see it. And I'm keen on how we get an audience to possibly think differently about a space or about a part of nature than they've thought about before, you know. I'm a sculptor for sure. I really love colour. So I like colour as much as I like form, and I'm really keen on understanding sort of complex relationships to a place by sort of groups of people, you know. And so I kind of like that notion that even though I'm framing myself as a sculptor, it's in a contemporary model, it's incredibly ambiguous. I'm quite into kinetic, and I'm wanting it to be a kinetic work. So at the moment we're hoping to have 3 forms that are powered by water and 1 form that's powered by sand. Time will tell. Up at Tawharanui, I've been documenting the rock pools and the different life in the rock pools. And there's a particular rock which is kind of this big flat rock. I don't know if it has a particular name. That's something I have to ask Mana Whenua, if they have a name for it. But it's a rock that I've looked at when I'm surfing a lot, and then it's nice to be actually out of the water and in around it, documenting it, and it's got all this really lovely life in it. So I've been enjoying that, and so I've been creating these forms knowing that I'm going to make these kinetic shapes. Then I've been creating forms that reference the things I'm finding in the rock pools. So I'm kind of bringing these ideas together. When I've been going through the rock pools and I've been filming in there, I'm looking for certain things. I think, oh yeah, that's visually really beautiful. And what I'm noticing is that there's certain collections of stills which constantly have the same species in them. And so I'm looking at those shapes of those species as elements that majorly inform the work. It's kind of a way of working out what I'm attracted to, if that makes sense. I like the fact that the pools have their own little ecosystem, and you can see it really clearly. Oh, it's got this particular type of plant in it, or it might be a darker pool, and I notice that the pools that are more in shadow actually have more colour in them. So some of the sponges in that, they like to have less light on them, obviously, right? So they're not growing out in the harsh light. So you can kind of start to see, oh, there's a logic to the space as you're interacting with it, and there's a logic to the organisms and the way that they're kind of breeding in their own little ecological pools. I've done a couple of little models, plasticine models. Well, it's just a way for me to pare back some of the visual material that I'm collecting, right? So the visual materials, it's just so dense, there's so much of it. And, you know, I kind of want to make everything kind of simpler, because I need to make quite a solid form, because I want these things to open up. So they need to be quite solid to start with. As you imagine, these things are meant to open up. Imagine if that opens up, then it can't hit any of the other bits around it. And so it becomes problematic. That's why I'm trying to simplify them. so that the textures are built into the form itself. So if you see these forms here, they're really just taken off. You can see a couple of different sponges, and they're really just taken out of images from the rock pools. So I've kind of taken some of that, so those orange ones have turned into this form here. And then I'm using reused materials on top of that. So we went to the ports of Auckland and had a chance to look at what they're not using and what's come out of the ocean, because I was really interested in materials that have sort of man-made and then have come out of the ocean, and reusing those, because it's kind of part of that story, if you like. And so they were really keen on me using a channel marker, and I kind of thought, yeah, that sounds great. I didn't really understand how big they were. They look smaller there. And it arrived on a truck. So I've cut that into pieces already, and I've got that up at the residency. And it's, because it's a sanctuary up there, we've got to be really careful. It's like, you know, ecologically they're really special. And there's so much going on. There's so much research and scientific research and that happening in the environment. It's quite mind-blowing. So I'm really conscious of the little bits of plastic that come out of working it. So I've got this little garage that I'm working in, and I've put a little 6-person tent inside it, and I'm using the fly on the tent and everything because it's all made to keep insects out. I'm using it to keep plastic in. Well, this is the outside of the form, and these are the insides. They fit onto the Corten steel structures, so you can see this is the base of where I've started, and then this thing here, I don't know what number that is, 11, that one will fit onto here, like so, and so it can move, you see. You know, so they'll open and close and do that. I'm not trying to make replicas of nature. I'm just trying to make forms that are, they're kind of slightly inspired by the environment, but then by making them sort of move and kind of in a way where they open and close or kind of breathe, in some ways they make these forms visually more alive. Making art's always a little bit of a journey, right? So you start the journey and you have a direction that you're heading in. It's not even marked on the map where you're going to go. So yeah, I'm really grateful to be here, really grateful to be doing the residency, because it's really helped me to kind of define and see exactly where I want to take my art making, and actually very much based on the work that I've done here. So I've already been, you know, researching some new underwater cameras, and already committed to go and get my diving license and go and do some diving, and so I can spend longer under the water and get to places that I'm not getting to at the moment. So I'm quite excited about where it's leading me to.